Or picture this. You're standing in front of a stone block, not just any block, 100 tons of solid granite. It's underground, in complete darkness, flooded with water. And it fits perfectly against the next block. No mortar, no gap, not even a crack. The official version says Pharaoh Seti I, 13th century BC. But when I started going through the facts, one by one, the picture began to fall apart. Not because someone hid something, but because the data collected by official archaeologists themselves points somewhere else entirely. Today, 7 pieces of evidence. No mysticism, no aliens, just engineering and geology. This is Brain Horizon. We don't build mystery, we prove it. Abydos, Upper Egypt, about 500 kilometers south of Cairo, behind the Temple of Seti I, a structure most tourists never notice. No signs, no guards, just a pit in the ground, filled with dark water, and walls built from stones that shouldn't be here. It's called the Osireion. In 1902, Flinders Petrie and Margaret Murray began excavations and found something that didn't fit the standard picture. From 1925 to 1929, Henri Frankfurt of the Egypt Exploration Society conducted full systematic excavations. 4 years, everything documented: stratigraphy, tool marks, construction layers. His final report, published in 1933, officially dated the Osireion to the reign of Seti I. But in the same report, a conclusion that almost no one cites. Frankfurt noted that the architectural style of the Osireion does not fit any known examples from the 19th dynasty. That wasn't written by an alternative blogger. That was written by an official archaeologist of the Egypt Exploration Society after 4 years on site. Let's go through what exactly doesn't add up. Let's start with the most obvious thing: the stone. The entire temple complex of Seti I at Abydos is built from limestone, standard for the 19th dynasty, easy to carve, perfect for reliefs, covered in inscriptions from floor to ceiling. The Osireion is built from red Aswan granite and quartzite. Wait, this matters. I want you to understand exactly this detail. Granite hardness on the Mohs scale, 6 to 7. Copper tools used by Egyptian craftsmen of the 19th dynasty. Hardness 3. Cutting granite with copper is like trying to scratch a diamond with a butter knife. The source of this granite, Aswan, is over 400 kilometers from Abydos by river. Weeks of transport by barge, then more kilometers overland to the site. And yet, not a single administrative document recording this logistics operation, while the construction records for Seti's other projects survived in detail. When the pyramids of Giza were built, around 2500 BC, Egyptians also used Aswan granite, and they left records: papyri, roots, daily logs. In 2013, archaeologists discovered the Diary of Merer, a 4,500-year-old logbook documenting exactly how stone was transported to Giza. For the Osireion, total administrative silence: 100 tons per block, 400 kilometers, 0 documents. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. Abydos now, the architecture. The 19th dynasty has a signature style: massive entrance pylons, hypo-style halls with rows of columns, heavy decoration, precise axial symmetry. Up, the Osireion has none of that. Right arrow, no pylons, no hypo-style hall, no decoration on the walls of the central chamber. What it does have: monolithic red granite pillars, minimalist rectangular masonry, and a central island surrounded by water on all sides. When Henri Frankfurt examined this in the 1920s, he wrote directly in his report, "The style of the Osireion is visually identical to the Valley Temple of Khafre at Giza. The Valley Temple dates to the 4th dynasty, around 2500 BC. That's 1,200 years before the official date of the Osireion." I remember when I first read that, I just stopped, because 1,200 years is not a margin of error. It's a chasm. To put it in perspective, we're in 2025. Go back 1,200 years and you're in 825 AD, the age of Charlemagne. Imagine someone today building a structure in the exact architectural style of the early Middle Ages. Same materials, same jointing technique, and leaving no explanation of why. The official response: Seti I deliberately used an archaic style as a religious symbol. Maybe. That's a reasonable hypothesis. But Edouard Naville, who excavated the Osireion in 1913 and 1914, wrote directly that the similarity to Old Kingdom structures was so clear he was inclined to date the Osireion to the 4th or 5th dynasty. Frankfurt later overrode that view based on cartouches of Seti I. But the cartouches were not in the central chamber. They were in the corridors and passageways. The central chamber itself, almost no inscriptions. Two different styles, two different materials. Inside one complex, the central chamber speaks one architectural language, the corridors speak another. This is not one building from one era. These are two different hands. Remember this number, it will come back and change everything you just heard. Walk into the Osireion in your mind. You descend through a subterranean passage more than 120 meters long. Darkness, silence. And then, the central chamber. In the middle, a stone island, surrounded by water on all sides. The water feeds from an underground aquifer and drops to a depth of at least 10.4 meters. Scientific testing of the water has shown it's not ordinary groundwater. It's a mixture, ancient Nile water that predates the Aswan Dam, and even older water from deep pressurized horizons. Henri Frankfurt proposed, the island represents the primordial mound, the first land that rose from the primordial ocean at the moment of creation, the central image of Egyptian cosmogony. But here's the engineering question that stays with me. To build this chamber, you first had to excavate a pit below the groundwater table. That means constantly pumping water out during construction, then lowering blocks of 100 tons into it, setting them with millimeter precision. Underwater. The first documented caisson work, underwater construction with active water removal, dates to approximately the 18th century AD. Before that, such operations were considered practically impossible without specialized equipment. The Osireion stands. That's a fact. But the technology that made it possible leaves zero other traces in the entire 19th dynasty. One structure, one technique, never repeated. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. So, most discussions about the Osireion focus on the walls and the blocks, but there's a detail I didn't plan to include in this breakdown. When I found it, I couldn't leave it out. In the burial chamber of the Osireion, there is an astronomical map on the ceiling, not decorative, functional. It contains data on the daily and annual movements of celestial bodies, specific dates for the heliacal rise and disappearance of key stars, and an instruction for constructing a sundial. According to the British Society for the History of Science, this is one of the most astronomically significant ceilings found anywhere in ancient Egypt. In the corridor between the chambers, a fragment of a diagonal star table was found, a tool for nighttime timekeeping that Egyptians used starting around 2100 BC. Wait, let's put two facts together. The central chamber, almost no inscriptions, like Old Kingdom structures at Giza. The burial chamber, one of the most complex astronomical schemes in all of Egypt. This isn't a contradiction, it's a division of function. Central chamber, engineering. Burial chamber, knowledge. Two distinct layers inside one structure. Henri Frankfurt proposed a hypothesis. The entire Osireion is a three-dimensional model of the Egyptian picture of the cosmos. The primordial ocean, represented by the water. The land that rose from it, the central island. The sky above, the star map on the ceiling. If he's right, this is not a tomb and not a temple. It's an architectural cosmogony, built in granite, built to last. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. Now, geology. The most technical and the most important argument. The blocks of the Osireion show erosion. Official Egyptology attributes this to groundwater. 3,000 years of contact with subsurface moisture. A group of independent geologists argues otherwise. The erosion pattern matches rainfall, erosion, not underground water. The difference is fundamental. Rainfall erosion creates vertical grooves and rounded hollows. Groundwater creates horizontal marks and crystallization damage. According to these geologists, the pattern on the Osireion blocks is vertical. According to data from Rudolf Cooper and Stefan Kreppelin of the University of Cologne, published in Science in 2006, the last period of significant rainfall in North Africa ended approximately between 5000 and 3000 BC. This is called the African humid period, the time when the Sahara was a savanna. Seti I ruled from 1294 to 1279 BC. That's at minimum 1,700 years after the end of the wet period. The main objection from Egyptology: groundwater can also produce similar marks, especially through capillary action. That's a fair counter-argument. I'm not dismissing it. But here's what gives me pause. In 1991, Robert Schoch, associate professor at Boston University's College of Natural Sciences, presented his analysis of Sphinx erosion at the annual meeting of the Geological Society of America in San Diego. His conclusion: the date must be significantly earlier than 2500 BC. This wasn't a YouTube channel. This was a professional geological conference. The Osireion and the Sphinx are 500 kilometers apart. Both show the same question, the same type of marks, the same dispute between official dating and geological data. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Remember this number. It will come back and change everything you just heard. Poirum. There's a fact that usually stays out of the Osireion discussion. At Giza, two structures that are architecturally almost identical to the Osireion. The Valley Temple of Khafre and the Sphinx Temple, both from the Old Kingdom, around 2500 BC, both built from massive blocks of red Aswan granite, both with no decoration in their central halls, both with no inscriptions in the main chambers. Edouard Neville, who excavated the Osireion in 1914, recorded this similarity and drew a direct conclusion. The Osireion and the Giza structures are products of the same building tradition. Huri, three structures, hundreds of kilometers between them, same material, same jointing technique, same precision, same absence of decoration. The official position: Seti I imitated the Old Kingdom style. But here's the engineering paradox. Imitating a style means reproducing the appearance. That's possible. Imitating the precision fit of 100-ton blocks with no mortar means reproducing the technology, the tools, the method, the engineering school. You can't do that by looking at old buildings. You need a living technical tradition. Between the Valley Temple at Giza and the Osireion, 1,200 years. In that time, Egyptian construction tradition went through multiple architectural revolutions. Nowhere in that entire gap is there a single structure with the same type of jointing, the same block size, the same precision. A technological tradition cannot freeze for 1,200 years, then suddenly resume for one object, unless that tradition was significantly older than we think. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is engineering logic. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. Let's go back to the official argument. It deserves a fair hearing. The main case for dating the Osireion to Seti I? Cartouches. The pharaoh's name was found in the corridors and passageways. The inscription reads, Men Matre, Seti I, is beneficial to Osiris. In his 2000 dissertation, researcher P.J. Brand concluded, the structure can be dated confidently to the reign of Seti. That's a serious argument. I'm not dismissing it. But a cartouche is not a construction date. It's a date of dedication or of use. When you see graffiti on the wall of the Colosseum, you don't date the Colosseum by the graffiti. When a medieval ruler rebuilt a Roman aqueduct and left his name on it, The aqueduct didn't become medieval. Neville understood this. Frankfurt understood this. And P.J. Brand, in the same 2000 paper, added, the stylistic inconsistencies require further study. Further study, written in 2000. The Osireion is still flooded. The floor of the central chamber, never fully investigated. Not a single underwater expedition has covered the full volume. Researcher James Westerman has raised the question in recent years. Beneath the visible levels, there may be deeper structural layers still unexplored. And what's down there, no one knows. Official science has not closed the question of the Osireion. It has postponed it. The floor is flooded. The lower levels are unexamined. For 3,000 years, this structure has stood underwater, and we still don't know what exactly was built down in the depths. Shiri, 7 facts, all verified, all from official sources, granite from Aswan, no logistics records, architectural style, 1,200 years older than the official date, underwater engineering operation, no parallel in the same era, astronomical map on the ceiling, ahead of its time, erosion marks, official science says groundwater, geologists disagree, 3 structures with 1 technology, separated by 1,200 years. Cartouches exist. Construction documents don't. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm showing you what is documented and what official history prefers not to discuss. Next time someone tells you the history of Egypt is fully understood, you know what to say. This was Brain Horizon. Now you know what others don't. Until next time.